Here we go. CIS-332. It's February 20th. Okay, we're talking about designing, specifying information systems. So our objectives here: apply proper design, planning techniques, modeling, talking about relationships, cardinality. We don't talk formally about normalization, but in working in these areas, we almost force some normalization of and implementing a database. All right. These are models. We'll talk about different types of model. We have the conceptual model. A conceptual schema is a high-level description business information needs. Just the main concepts and then the relationships among them. Here's where we try to think about what entities would come out of there. Okay, FYI, this is those. You should have reviewed those. It's another approach to talking about this same topic. So, data models. Concern of what we want to do with the data. Then here's a database logical. Okay, logical data models represent the abstract structure of the domain of the information. They're often diagrams in nature and show business processes. Key thing here, it's usually then a more structured design of your concept. Should be based on the structures from the concept. Okay? Another key thing, without being specific to a particular database product. More or less, you're doing all this work and you haven't decided what database you're actually going to put it in yet. So it can be independent of that. This should all be independent of that. And we'll talk more about that in continues. This is a physical model, so this isn't maybe necessarily storing the data yet. It's the model of how you would set it up. Okay? The physical database model, or the database design, represents the data design which takes into account the facilities, the constraints, the given data management system, life cycles of the project, and so forth and so forth. As of 2012, there were 7 main ones, and I think we have listed some different ones before, but anyway, MySQL is what we're going to use. So now you're going to take that information from above, and we start doing things like creating the tables, the relationships between the tables, okay, and form this into a database management system, and more specifically, relational database management system. All right. The schema, what is it going to look like? Okay, what is it going to look like? We have the external view, how people see it from the outside. Our database management system is going to store it, and we're going to have these different views from the outside of what the people see. Okay, 2 key things: the user experience and the user interface. Here's where our web application designers do a good job of developing that and that. The external view. A couple key things. Different external views of the database. We can have this huge amount of data, and this person right here, let's say this person in the yellow, is going to see it different than the person coming in as a red. Okay? This is really important, and we talk more about this later on, the external views of the data. This is another key. The external schemas are compiled by the system, right? Database management system, which we're using MySQL, and store it in the data dictionary. For a specific user, to create the user interface, to access the database, and so forth. Logical tables. We have started to talk about this. Here's where we're actually talking about starting to create tables. Now we've been drawing them like this. You're going to find we're going to start doing it to where we list the entity and behind it lists the attributes, or in some cases they list the entity and list the attributes underneath. It doesn't make a difference, but we're trying to decide to set up a logical view of the database. The internal storage, again, where it's going to store it. Obviously you have to know, on the current machine where the app is and so forth, but that's the physical data model. It describes the physical means which data is stored, and in our case, MySQL is taking care of that. And later on we'll learn we can manipulate that somewhat ourselves too. I'm not going to go through this entire sheet, but this is 3 perspectives, 3 levels of the architecture. Just to reiterate, in all ways, there's some where there's external or model or views, different views. The conceptual model is how we designed it, okay? And the physical is what database management system is writing it out. And you could go through this. It gives 3 nice explanations here in terms of all 3 of those. So if you haven't, you should read through that in the outline. Alright, that's it for this introduction to section 2.